Time that this meeting is being recorded. It is a matter of public record, so be mindful of what comes across your camera and your microphone. If you're not talking, please keep yourself muted. Feel free to unmute yourself to contribute to the conversation. I will try to keep an eye on the chat function, but sometimes I miss it, so I encourage you to unmute yourself and join in. And with that, it is June 17th, it is 6 p.m. This is the LWIA 23 quarterly board meeting. So when you are ready, Chair Harold, please feel free to call the meeting to order.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Appreciate everybody attending this last meeting of the fiscal year, that last board meeting of the fiscal year. So Debbie, would you please call roll?
Harold Williams. Jim Boland. Kevin Pinker. Casey Burkholder.
Here.
Ken Busher.
Present.
Brian Kim.
Here.
Mike Conrad.
Here.
Sandy Daters. Here. Aaron Hacker. Kathy Iver.
Here.
Carolyn Jorgensen.
Here.
Mandy Martin.
Here.
Josh McElravy. Joy Fitz. Here. Lori Porter. Deb Reed. Here. Roy Shelley. Denise Smith. Okay.
Here. Here. I'm sorry.
Chris Stoll. Here. Kim Taylor.
Here.
Carol Tracy. Here. Jason Warfel.
Here.
Courtney Yockey.
Here.
Austin Swilling. We have a forum.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us online. I know you probably see the back of my bald head, but that's okay. All right. This is on the agenda, but Jamie, we have some guests with us tonight. You want to announce them?
Sure, we have Dr. Josh Bullock from Lakeland College. Thank you. President of Lakeland College. Thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
And then we have Brian Ellis, the regional manager for the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. He is online. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Okay, with that, everyone in their packet got some minutes for 2 meetings, if you recall. It was our March 18th and our May 6th meeting. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to read those minutes. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
I do have correction.
Okay, you have a correction.
On May 6th, on the roll call vote, should have me as abstaining.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So, does anyone see any other corrections? If not, I will entertain a motion. I think Sandy was raising her hand, but Sandy, do I have a second?
So moved.
All right, thanks, Mike. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. So next item on the agenda, item 3, please reveal any conflict of interest you may have tonight and the issues that we're addressing.
And which will have a conflict with the proposed service provider contract. But it's all that same, that's 2 votes.
Might be 10 and 11. Okay. Does anyone else have a conflict? If not, we'll move on to item 4. This is some board training that Jamie has wanted to present, some brief board training for all of us. So with that, Jamie, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Get back to the beginning. All right, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. I just wanted to go over the governance training, the roles and responsibilities of each of the governing groups that make up LWIA 23. I took this training from the Department of Labor. It was a much longer training. There was a more general information in there, and I did tweak it a bit. just for time constraints. So you will notice there'll be some pages that I go over really quickly and others that I spend more time on, but this is all from the Department of Labor and Workforce GPS. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. No, it is. Yeah, here we go. And why did it do that? I don't know.
You're about done.
Yeah.
Sticking to your promise, Jamie.
Right? Okay, so, just real quick, I'll go over our vision from our bylaws, our vision for the local workforce innovation board. To serve as the strategic and convener of local workforce systems stakeholders. We do have a pretty long purpose, but just real quick, we're living it every day. We're providing strategic and operational oversight to the workforce stakeholders, to the workforce ecosystem. We're developing a comprehensive and high quality system. And we're working to achieve the state strategic vision, as outlined in the Unified State Plan. And our purpose is to maximize and continue to improve the quality of services, customer satisfaction, and effectiveness of the services provided. So there is a document that is called the WIOA Governance Key Roles and Responsibilities Matrix that really lines out the roles and responsibilities starting at the governor's office, the Illinois Workforce Innovation Board, all the way down to service provider, one-stop operator consortium. It's an 8-page document. If you would like to see it, I'm happy to get you a copy, but I did not print out enough for everybody tonight. And that document is what is leading this entire training. But it's pretty big, and we don't need to go over it in detail tonight. So I'm not going to go over what WIOA is, because by now I feel like most of us have a pretty good idea that we're landmark legislation aimed at developing the local workforce system. And our vision is aligned with the general WIOA vision. We are serving both businesses and job seekers. We are providing excellent customer service. We are focused on continuous improvement. And all of this results in us developing strong regional economies, active in community and workforce development. So, quick question, now that you've already kind of seen the answer, true or false? The key priorities shaping WIOA include the following: competition and quality, a focus on competition and quality, broader and deeper partnerships, more strategic state and local boards, sector strategies and career pathways, regionalism, and service value and integration. True or false?
Yeah.
True. Great job. And we can prove that's true because here's this really cool little wheel that shows those are each of the WIOA priorities. Local workforce development boards must competitively procure and certify its one-stop operator with the agreement of the state workforce agency. It's a little pre-test to know how much you know about WIOA. Is this true or false?
True.
This is a trick question. It is false. We do have to competitively procure and certify the one-stop operator, but it's with the agreement of the chief elected officials. And then we submit that to state workforce agency. So yeah, we thought this was going to be. So talking about the one-stop operator, the WIOA vision is that the one-stop has enhanced access to high-quality services through the network of the one-stop delivery system. And that's all of our partners, not just Title I that we talk about a lot, but our Title II, Title III, Title IV, our community-based organizations, our economic development organizations, all those services make up the one-stop delivery system. So we have to competitively procure for the one-stop operator, and the one-stop operator is a key driver in delivering those services. And all of that is laid out in WIOA sections 107D, 10A, So when we take a step back and we look at all of these different governing bodies, I tried to put it out in a map that would make sense. And this is the best that I can come up with in a short amount of time. But we do have the governor of Illinois, who has the Illinois Workforce Innovation Board, and then has designated each LWIA made up of the county board. So local chief elected officials. Each of those consortiums of chief elected officials, for us, it's 13, other areas it might just be one because they're a single county. The chief elected officials then have the local workforce innovation board where they appoint members to, and they select the fiscal agent. Then there's the one-stop operator and the service provider who will get their oversight from the local workforce innovation board and who will have the chief elected officials and work with the fiscal agent. So that little star there was the closest I could come up with where the LWIA 23 board staff sits. I could put us right below the local workforce innovation board. I could put us in between, but really we are serving as staff to the board to help the board complete its 14 functions. We are serving as guidance and oversight to the fiscal agent, and we are working for the 13 counties that make up our chief elected officials. So I thought that was a good spot to say where we're at in this grand scheme of things. So how many CEOs do we have here today? All right, not all of them, but we got a couple online. Yeah, we've got a good amount of you. So what are your roles? The roles of the chief elected officials are to consult with the local workforce innovation board, to appoint board members, to develop agreements outlining roles and responsibilities for all these different functions, to designate an entity to serve as a local fiscal agent and ensure that agent has clearly defined roles. And ultimately, the CEOs are liable for the WIA grant funds allocated to the area. Now, before we get to what the roles of the local workforce innovation board, I want to show you where there's overlap, because there is some overlap. We have to work together. So shared functions between the CEOs and the board is working together to develop and submit a local regional plan, set policy for the local workforce system, negotiate levels of performance utilizing the statistical adjustment model with PCO, conduct oversight of adult, youth, and dislocated worker programs, designate a procurement process for the one-stop operator, agree to amounts and methods of calculating the budget for the MOU for infrastructure costs of the one-stop center, provide rapid response services, and establish operating, fiscal, and management accountability systems. So we're working together on all of those things. Now the board has a lot of roles. There's 14 functions. We'll go through some of these real quick, high level. The development of that 4-year local and regional plan that we just got done developing, and we should be hearing any day now of all the stuff PCO is recommending that we change or update or make better. Conduct workforce research and regional labor market information, convene local stakeholders and lead employer engagement to build a local workforce system with many interconnected funding streams, develop career pathways, conduct oversight of the one-stop system, develop annual budget, which we will do tonight, select providers and one-stop operator, review criteria for the one-stop center and one-stop delivery service system certification, which we will approve tonight as well, complete certifications every 3 years for that one-stop operator, and complete annual assessments of the one-stop center accessibility. So then we have our one-stop operator. We keep talking about them. What are they? They are a consortium of the partners that make up the workforce system. Title I, CEFS, Title II, Adult Education, Title III, IDES, Wagner Kaiser, and Title IV, Department of Human Services, Division of Rehabilitation Services. Those one-stop leaders of those one-stop partners come together to form a consortium, and they are there to coordinate the service delivery of required partners and service providers. Now, they may provide career services, and it just so happens career services are provided at our one-stop through our Title I partners. What the one-stop operator cannot do is they can't convene stakeholders, they can't be responsible for their own oversight, they can't manage or participate in the competitive selection, they cannot select or terminate the one-stop operator, career services, or youth providers. They can't negotiate local performance accountability measures, and they can't develop or submit a budget for the LWIA. So what that means is we can't just take our work and tell the one-stop operator to do it. And there's parameters in play because maybe someone somewhere must have thought about doing that at some point. So then what's the role and the responsibilities of the staff to the board? To keep it simple, we are here to assist the board with all required WIA functions, those 14 functions. The key ones to just hit on tonight is data and information collection and analysis to help make decisions. Engagement of the employer community, collecting and providing promising practices and continuous improvement strategies to the board, assisting the board in developing an agenda that focuses on strategic roles, providing strategic leadership, and assisting the board in achieving strategic priorities. There's a lot of strategy going on with the staff. So then how about the local fiscal agent roles? The CEOs have designated a fiscal agent, and the clear roles of fiscal agents include receiving POA funds, the grant funds, ensuring sustained fiscal integrity and accountability for the expenditure of funds, responding to audit of financial findings, maintain accounting records and documentation, develop financial reports, and provide fiscal technical assistance to the sub-recipients. Now, even though the local fiscal agent is liable for making sure that we're using the funds correctly, ultimately the CEOs still have ultimate liability for fiscal funds. That's why it's so important for you guys to be here every meeting, but especially now when we are looking at the budget for the next year as well. So what else can the fiscal agent do? There seems to be a lot of question of what exactly does the fiscal agent do? Is that all that they can do? So I want to highlight that the fiscal agent cannot act without direction from the local board. They're not decision-making entities. They carry out certain operational functions. And at the direction of the CEO and the LWIA, the fiscal agent can also do the following. And this is what's in our contracts, our agreements, is procuring contracts or obtain written agreements on behalf of the board, conduct financial monitoring of service providers, and ensure independent audit of all employment and training programs. So, quick review. Some of the key roles for the LWIA must include, and I'm already tired of talking, so A, developing a 4-year plan, improving quality service, aligning programs, convening partners, selection of service providers, developing LWIA budget. G, all of the above, or H, none of the above. This one's not a trick one. Did I hear G, all of the above?
Yes.
Awesome. Who approves the LWIA members? Is it the one-stop operator, the CEOs, fiscal agent, or the IWIB? Awesome, good job. Who hires the LWIB staff? That wasn't in there, so this is kind of a tricky one.
A.
For us, it is A, the fiscal agent, yes. The LWIB must complete an assessment of the one-stop center's accessibility annually. True or false? True, that's right. We assess accessibility annually. Say that really fast a whole bunch of times. How about the one-stop operator is permitted to select and or terminate youth service providers? True or false? Oh, good job. You guys got it. Oh gosh, there's one more. All right, under WIA, the CEOs must obtain LWIB approval before hiring board staff. True or false? False, good job. After how many years must an LWIB complete the one-stop delivery system certification? 3, awesome. I thought that would get you, you're on it. So let the sun shine in. The local workforce innovation boards must conduct business in an open manner, according to the Sunshine Act. And here in Illinois, we also follow the Open Meetings Act. Conflict of interest, where there's multiple functions that are performed by a single organization, written agreements with the local board and CEOs are required. And almost done. So any LWIB or subcommittee member may not vote on an item where that individual or family member has financial interest or other conflict. LWIB members who have a relative participating in a procurement process may not participate. LWIBs must disclose real or apparent conflicts of interest and disclose recusals of members. That's why we have the conflict of interest at every board meeting. And then the LWIB should have some policies for votes and deliberations for those with financial or other interests. So that was a super fast, very high level training on all of the roles and responsibilities. There will be more trainings in the near future, I am sure. But do you have any questions for me tonight on roles and responsibilities? Wonderful, thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you, Jamie. Appreciate that very much. So on to service, or item number 5. Who is Kelly tonight? All right, Elaine, report.
Stuff I'm gonna hand out. No, I don't want this either.
Which way they supposed to go?
It doesn't matter. All this- Something does. There's plenty for everybody.
I've already got it.
We got to pay back for here.
The multiple page one. Both sides. Got a dead tree right there.
So, I'm gonna do the report. Right now, we're going to put on adult disciplinary work, for you to get our money spent for this program here. We were monitored May 14th and 15th. Things went really well. The monitor's really good. We had a new monitor that hadn't done a lot of monitoring before. And, she was very happy. She said our files were the best she'd seen anywhere. And she said she's gonna ask to come back to our area next year. There were 2 clerical findings that Kelly will have to respond to. And she will give those to Jamie, and Jamie will send a letter. One of them had to do with, a paper that was not put in IWDS in 10 days. We went over the 10 days and they wrote that up. But it was in there, something in there. 10 days. The other one was something else that they said wasn't in there. It was in the system, but they didn't go in and open, shut the line to put it in, but we had it too. So there's really nothing. There were no fiscal findings at all. We've had several closings recently. Medline in Vandalia was 17 people, closed in April, and we actually had a rapid response for them in Vandalia. Ardens, Hogan, Walker, John Deere. They are in Ashmore, and they had 14 people in April. They're closed now. Matrix Works in Effingham, it's 19 people, and their close date is July 30th. And we've had several people already call the office. We have about 9 or 10 people that have already called wanting to go to school for that program. So we will do rapid response for that program. Wabash Produce and Farina Burn. And they have 31 people. Right now, they're not sure what they're gonna do. We've had several calls with them. They don't know if they want to rebuild. They're trying to figure out how best for their employees. The part that burnt was where they actually raised the chickens, and I think they lost 1.5 million chickens. So, they moved 3 people to the breaking plant, but they've still got the rest of the people. They're talking about all different kinds of things, on the job training, become a worker, Work Illinois. I mean, any programs that they can get some help with. We had a meeting today. We're gonna have another meeting tomorrow. So, like I said, they're trying to look out for their people. They're not wanting the people to leave. They want the people to hang on. So when they get back in order, they'll have their people. Since we received our 1E money several months ago, we put on 47 new dislocated workers. Most of them were quad graphics, and they're continuing to come in every semester wanting to go to school. We've had a few from other places. Right now, we've got 10 on the list for classroom training in the fall. So we're getting a lot of dislocated workers, which we haven't had a lot for a long time, but should come in. Performance. I passed out a performance sheet that looks like this. And the reason I sent this one out, you got one in your packet. In your packet, it showed that we were failing the dislocated worker measurable skills. But the reason I printed this one today was to show you that that changes all the time. It updates on the weekends, so as we add things in, it updates. So right as of today, we're exceeding all of our performance, which is good. User recruitment is ongoing. We had trouble getting a lot of out of school youth, but we're working hard on it. Our staff has been out doing 3 places. I gave you the new recruitment plan that we have. Kelly made some changes on the old one, and we're going to continue to recruit, get out and find out of school youth. Anybody knows any out of school youth that need work, we'd be glad to put them on. We can't put in school kids on, which means that they're either attending school or they registered for next semester. So these kids are coming in when they go to college. We don't know they registered for next semester. So if they don't tell us, we can put them on. If they come in and say, I've already been there and I registered, they're considered in school. So, but we don't know that. So that's what we're just not even asking. So we do have some slots for classroom training that we'll be putting kids in, but the big push right now is still work experience. We've got to get a bunch of people on so we can get our numbers up. We've had since April, we put 25 youth on the program on work experience. And right now we have 19. We've lost 6. Youth are really hard to keep track of and for them to follow through. They just, some of them, the 6 that left, one of them worked 4 hours, one of them worked half a day, one day. And I think that was didn't even show up the first day. So, it's really hard to get them. So if you have any referrals, we'd be happy to take them. And if you have any questions about the new recruitment, Kelly will be glad to answer those for you.
Elaine,
Yes.
what's the age group for that middle school youth? What's the range?
18 through 24. And the out of school, we have limited work that we're putting on work experience, have limited work experience. It can't be somebody that's had a full-time job for 2 years. It has to be somebody that needs basic work skills.
Is that through 24 or until they're 24?
Include up through.
Includes 24.
So if they're 24, they can be put on. They don't have to be taken off when they're 25, as long as they get on when they're
Sure.
24. Now, classroom training, they don't have to have a limited working. They just have to be eligible. And the out of school youth are really easy. There's no income guideline for them, just basic barriers and stuff. So you know of anybody, send them in. We'd be glad to talk to them. As of July 1, we'll get our new formula monies. So we're going to increase our mileage and paying customers 25 cents a mile now to drive. Kind of a joke, but that's all we could afford. So we're gonna raise them to 50 cents. Hopefully that'll help. Some of them are having trouble getting back into school. Some of them drive quite a ways when they do their clinicals. Some of them that go to school, like at KC, they may be doing clinicals in Evansville and places like that. They throw them all over the place to get clinicals. So some of them are driving quite a ways. So I know some of the matching kids went to Champaign this last semester, so their mileage is pretty high. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Do anybody have any youth they want to send us? Thank you.
Thanks, Lane. Appreciate that very much. So item 6, the success stories. So Jamie,
So, you should have, when you walked in, seen that we have a big stack of the great booklet.
anyone need one?
Hot off the press, please feel free to grab one, grab a handful. I think we got enough, we can get more, you need some more. But go ahead, take some time to read through all of these success stories. They're moving, they're inspirational, they're heartwarming. Read through them, think about which one is your favorite, which one seems to have overcome the most adversity, their story is most powerful, really resonates with you for whatever reason. And then you have a couple different ways that you can vote on this success story. You can just do that by simply shooting an email. You can scan the QR code that's either on the screen or on the one pager that Gerald there has. Or you can go to surveymonkey.com/r/WIA success 24. Or you can write it down on the paper that you have right now and give it to me after this, but you haven't had enough time to read through all of them, so I kind of encourage you to take a couple days. And then if you could by Thursday, let me know your favorite one. We will tally up the votes, and then the success story with the most votes is submitted to the Illinois Workforce Partnership, IWP, to go to the award ceremony for the state level. They'll be up there with their colleagues from all across the state and the opportunity to win the state award there as well. So we put a lot of, CEFS puts a lot of work into serving these individuals and making sure that they have everything they need to overcome obstacles and barriers to success so that they can get the training they need to get to their desired career pathway, right? There's amazing stories. We want to recognize the hard work and dedication. This is the way to do it. Read through them, pick your favorite, and let's send our most favorite one. It's hard to pick, but our most favorite one to Springfield for the awards dinner.
All right, any questions? All right, if none, we'll move on to our fiscal agent report. Once again, Miss Jamie.
All right, so fiscal agent report. Debbie did a really good job with the fiscal agent report at the planning and oversight meeting, but I'm going to hit just the highlights here tonight. We did receive our allocation for plan year 24. I already see that I missed updating that from plan year 22 versus 23 to plan year 23 versus plan year 24. So we have been awarded for the new year $2,692,133. That is an increase overall of 6.7% from last year. The state of Illinois saw an increase overall of 5.5%. So I feel like we're doing pretty good if the state got that much of an increase, and we are seeing a little bit more. When you divide it out into funding streams, yes, there's a dip in dislocated worker. That's because we've had really low unemployment rate in the area. But we've picked up for adult and youth, so it bounces out well in our favor. Just to kind of put things into perspective here, is looking at the last 10 years of WIA formula allocation versus the grant recipient budget. So what we'll talk about tonight is the Lakeland College LWIA 23 office operating budget is how I think of it in my mind, but we call it the Lakeland budget. So comparing how much of the budget is our office versus the entire formula. And you'll see as there's been kind of an up and down with the formula allocations each year, we've stayed pretty steady, dipped just a bit, but still maintaining relatively steady there. And then just another way of looking at it, instead of dollar amount, looking at the percentage, how much of the budget percentage. So you'll see we got a little bit more movement there when we look at it from a percentage perspective as opposed to just a cost amount perspective. Incumbent worker projects, we have had, last year I think I said this too, but now we've had even more of a banner year for incumbent worker training projects. We originally budgeted $200,000 for incumbent worker. Right now we're sitting at, we've had to reallocate a bit. re-strategize, and we're sitting at about 174,000 budgeted for incumbent worker. But that's coming from our 23 grant, and our 1E grant, and a little bit left over from 22 grant. So we've had just a ton of projects. I think this is what, like 15 or 17 here. And an annual average prior to the pandemic was we were looking at about 7 projects a year. We're just blowing it out of the water. There's been a huge increase in demand. There's decent diversity in the industries that we're supporting, but that's 145 additional individuals served, and that's, I think, it about 12 to 14 businesses served through incumbent worker training. Good stuff going on there. Real quick, recap on apprenticeship expansion grant, our Navigator 2.0. That is wrapping up as of June 30th. So we had a goal of engaging 50 new employers. In April, the end of April, we were already at 39 of those 50 goal. We had a goal of having 15 outreach events. We've had 58 outreach events in the last year. We had a goal of 10 new registered apprenticeship programs, and we have 5 right now. We have several in development, but I don't think we're going to get much more progress on those before June 30th. But we were poised to blow that goal out of the water. There's just been a few employers that have hung up a bit on making some decisions. So we're really good, a good spot to wrap up that grant, and then guess what? We applied for another apprenticeship grant. So hopefully come July 1st, we will, or before July 1st, we'll hear from DCO with a commitment of funding, so that we can start off fresh July 1st through June 30th of next year with a new expansion grant. We applied for $151,000. The maximum award could go up to $175,000. We did get the application submitted June 3rd, and our goal for employers engaged is 30. Our goal for outreach events is 40, and we did get a little less ambitious with our new registered apprenticeship goal of 7 instead of 10, just because we got a little more realistic there. But I'm super excited for the continued success for registered apprenticeships.
Jamie, real quick,
Yeah.
can you identify or maybe give an example of what the outreach events are?
So anytime that we've had an employer summit event with the business service team, and we have posted, we did the LEAP event on LEAP Day, and then we did the annual employer summit event last September. We'll probably do those again as well because they had really good attendance and interest. Just looking for topics and content that are relevant to current workforce needs and getting employers together to learn best practices or to talk about what they're facing. And then also anytime that we've done lunch and learn events with chambers of commerces, anytime we've gone to a job fair or a career fair and did presentations to a large group, all of those things in general have counted towards employer engagement. But then anytime we've done a one-on-one consult with an individual employer, they called up and said, hey, we're interested in apprenticeships. Can you tell us more? We've counted those as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And terrific. I mean, averaging more than 1 week, so.
We've put a lot of work into it. It's keeping us busy for sure. I'm going backwards. Hold on, sorry. All right, supplemental grant for fiscal year 20. So this was the fun one where DCO said, hey, we got this really cool opportunity where you can do workforce things, but without all of the regulations of WIA that you normally have. The caveat was it started July 1st of 23, but we didn't really get this information till like August, September-ish, and we didn't get all of the pieces in the right places till closer to December. So we were flying this plane and building it at the same time, and it was a little chaotic, but we were able to support partners in ways that we've never been able to support them before. So we were out of our goal of impacting 4 local employers, we've impacted 12. Out of our goal of impacting 394 individuals so far, we're at 363 and supported 6 WIA partners in whole new ways. So we've just received information on the fiscal year 25 supplemental grant, that webinar will be on Friday, coming up here soon, Thursday. So we will learn more, and we were awarded this year for $269,000. Our maximum that we can apply for and be awarded this year is about 200,000. So a little bit of a cut, but this is supplemental money, and there's a lot less regulations with it. So it's exciting either way, and I won't complain that there was a cut there. We talked about the 1E emergency dislocated worker grant. We are awarded $673,000. This grant does go until June 30th. So far, 17 employers have been impacted by this grant, and at last count, 75 individuals impacted, and it sounds like there's probably a few more in the next few weeks that will be added onto there. So that grant will continue on through June 30th of 2025. WIA reauthorization is coming up. There has been movement at the federal level for the Stronger Workforce for America Act. I guess that's SWA. There will be a webinar specifically for local workforce board chairs coming up, put on by Illinois Workforce Partners in partnership with the National Association for Workforce Boards. So if you are interested, it will be Monday, June 24th at 1 p.m. Let me know and I will get the webinar information out there to you. Some of the positive things is we're looking at potentially removing the requirement for the one-stop operator procurement, increasing the cap on incumbent worker dollars. Right now, it can be no more than 20% of our adult and dislocated worker funding for the year. More stable funding for the MOU budget, and creating a mandatory funding source for H-1B visas to fund individual training accounts for dislocated workers. So taking that money that is gathered from the visa process and putting it right into dislocated workers. Also, is it on there? There's talk of not really differentiating necessarily between youth in school versus youth out of school. And as you heard just a few minutes ago, that is a big concern for us. So if there's language to give us more flexibility, that is always flexibility in WIA is always wonderful. We need more flexibility for sure. Areas of concern is just looking at, right now, the state of Illinois has put 50% maximum for overhead, a minimum of 50% going to direct training. Nationally, it's 40%, but Illinois opted for 50. Well, it sounds like nationally they're going to move to the 50% as well. And there will be some language changes that may be an area of concern. So keep your ear out for more on WIA reauthorization. Elaine gave a great update on DCO monitoring. There was an exit conference on May 14th, or entrance conference, sorry. We did an official exit on June 6th, where they had really positive things to say. There were excellent cases, case files. It was easy to find what they were looking for. They had no fiscal findings. There were concerns with our fund utilization report, specifically for our youth in school versus out of school and youth work experience. 2 programmatic findings. They were really data validation errors, so very minimal. They again said that monitoring was great. And then they also did a special monitoring on our apprenticeship grant, and there were no findings or questions for that either. We're hopeful that the final monitoring letter will be released soon for us to do an official response to. The WIA Summit was in April. There were some really great topics. It was a very enlightening event. We had a pretty good turnout. Our LWIA members, Casey Burkholzer, Chris Stroll, Adam Flack, and Carolyn Jorgensen were all in attendance, in addition to LWIA attendees, Kelly Ditton, Elaine Newday, Jamie Porta, and Devin Cooper. Keep in mind, Workforce Development Month is coming up, September 2024. In September, we will also be looking at board term expirations. So there'll be some paperwork and some forms to fill out. And if there's any term limits coming up, we'll be looking for new board members. Performance negotiations are expected to happen in August and September. There will be a new tool that will come out in July, hopefully. Then we roll into Manufacturing Month in October and National Apprenticeship Week in November. Just another plug for WIA Innovation News, or Workforce Innovation News podcast. The most recent episode, I think 39, is out there. So please subscribe if you haven't already. We are on Apple and Spotify, and now we're on Amazon Music. So if you have Alexa, you can say, Alexa, play Win Workforce Innovation News Podcast, and she will just pull it up and start playing it for you. And I know you cannot wait to try that out when you get it. As always, like, follow, and share our social media. There's a lot that we can do for outreach and for promoting, but word of mouth is priceless. So the more that you can do to share our message with your networks, the better. Get the word out there. Any questions with the fiscal agent report? Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jamie. We'll move on to item 8, the agenda, starting with our committee reports, planning and oversight, or oversight committee. Mike?
Planning and oversight met Thursday, June 13th. We went over in depth the grant recipient reports, the performance report like Debbie gave, that we were given, fiscal monitoring reports, training program certifications. Most of our meeting was spent discussing the proposed service budget. I don't know if we're gonna bring that up later on, but as a committee, we made the suggestion to work on the current contract we have with SEPS for the next 90 days while we spend some time working out all the red line details that are in the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. All right, who is going to do the Roy online? Kayla? Kayla, you want to do the youth report? And maybe not. Okay. Kayla, are you there? Okay.
There she is.
There you are.
No.
Nope, she's muted.
She did unmute for a second.
Yeah. There she-
Ask Jamie though, if she will.
Okay, I can do that. Let me.
All right, thank you.
I gave you my notes. Give me just one moment. We did hear presentation from Dr. Justin Arnold, the director for LWIA 23 out of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. He gave a presentation on their youth committee, went through a restructuring new strategy a year or two ago. So he went through that whole process, the lessons learned, what the outcomes were, and he took a few minutes to allow our youth committee members to pick his brain a bit about where we're at and where we could go. And then we did a little discussion on our own reorganization goals and where we're at. We're going to have a work group to look at engagement, input from youth candidates who have used the youth services in the area to see what's worked, what's not worked, what their recommendations are for us to get actual input from the people we're serving. And then there was a report on activities and programs from youth from Elaine. She said very similar things to what she's presented here tonight. Public comment was Mandy's, I didn't write down her last name, but from Spiro. She works with Youth Build in Marion County. She works with other programs that have wraparound services throughout parts of our region. So she was open to collaborating and making referrals for youth out of school. So that was a great connection that came out of youth committee meeting today at 3:01.
All right, any questions? Thank you, Jamie. Okay, next, consortium.
Yes, consortium meeting met at 4 o'clock today. Had a great training by Carol. Talked about all the wonderful services Urba has in their Lake County area. Also talked about their employment training program and scholarship program, which went over a lot of the great programs. We did have an action item to recommending to recertify the one-stop certification, and Joe gave that report. Jamie gave business service update on the she kind of alluded to a lot of things now of all the places they're going and games they've had to, get all the services, all the businesses in our area. Talk about all our services that we have to offer. She also gave us an MOU update. The MOU has been sent to PCO. The signatures except for DHS and a couple of senior employment programs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then Chris gave a one-stop offer. That's what happened at 4 o'clock.
All right, any questions for Kevin? It was a busy meeting, all right. As far as the executive report, I'd like to report, we did meet in our basically annual meeting to review the budget. Debbie presented the budget to the executive committee, and after some Q&A and explanations and different things, the executive committee has asked, we voted to go ahead and bring recommend the fiscal year 24 budget be approved by the board here tonight. So we're making that recommendation to the board, and that was really our only item of business. Wasn't nothing like Kevin's. So, but anyway, so that's what we're making that recommendation to approve the fiscal year 24 budget as we move down into that. So, any questions there? If not, we do need a motion and a second to approve the committee reports as they've been presented. Would anyone like to please make a motion? Motion. Courtney makes a motion. A second?
Second.
All right, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. But, all those opposed, same sign. All right. With that, we do have item 9, our one-stop certification. Now, if all of you haven't seen this, there is a really nice report on all of this and what transpired. Well, that's not the one-stop, is it? No, that's not the one-stop. But anyhow, we do have a real nice report. It was here somewhere on what all transpired. Last Monday, myself and Devin and Joy and Mike Conrad and Jamie met at the one stop. First time I'd ever been there. Be blunt about it. First time I'd ever been in the building. And it was a great experience. We went through a lot of the details as far as the checklist of everything that has to be in compliance. Some did some interviews. I was fortunate to do some interviews with Seth. My interview was awesome. I was telling him earlier that I kind of, one lady I interviewed most, but Elaine kind of stepped in. Of course, when you have that much knowledge and history in the room, as far as they just brings so much to the table, But as far as all the data that was collected, we came back and we met after we did these interviews and different things, and made a very few minor recommendations, some signage on the doors. Okay, basically is one of the things that we talked about. The other thing we talked about was the positives, and that was the experience and the knowledge that SEFS has in doing their job, and also the fact that they gave a situation where a lady had been on a medical leave for a week or so, and people were cross-trained to just to step right in. Not the same person, but others were cross-trained to step right in to fill her position, and no glitches. And so that's what we like to hear. Those are all those positive, great things that we like to hear from a service provider. Okay. So with all of that being said, all right, we are strongly recommending that we continue and recertify SEFS here, the one-stop for this coming term. Okay. So that's what we are recommending as the committee to do that. So one-stop recertification. So do I have a motion to do that? Would anyone like to make a motion? All right, Carol makes a motion. Second? Okay, Chris will make a second. Are there any questions? Has anyone ever, has everyone ever been in that building and saw this? it's really pretty cool. You need to go by, if you can get by security, you'll be fine. Get by security, you'll be fine. And it was good. It was a great experience. It really was. Everyone was just so friendly. And some of the customers that were there kind of looked at you like you're kind of strange a little bit, but I get that look all the time. So anyway, but yeah, it was really good. So we've got a motion, we got a second. Did we need to roll call this? No, we just, so all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say aye. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you're there, but thank you. All right. All those opposed, same sign. All right, it passes. So on to item 10, the proposed service provider contract. I know that we're going to make some comments to begin with, okay? I know that the Planning and Oversight Committee spent a lot of time last Thursday really discussing this and going through this, and Kevin had made some had actually sent us some of the things that Seth was concerned about, and all of that was discussed. All of that was discussed, and based upon the Planning and Oversight Committee and the hard work that they put into this, and the recommendation to, all right, let's back off. Let's look at this contract a little bit closer. Let's do a 30 or 90-day extension to this to give us time to not only look at the original contract, but to look at proposed changes, okay? To make sure that we're right with today's world. And just to kind of get a little reset, may I bring out the situation with the letter? We did get a letter from Mr. Ellis, and this was one of the things that he was concerned about, was that we have not been able to get this done by the end of the month. And he wasn't concerned about it, but it was just it was one of these findings that he has. And so, but I'll read you exactly what he said, okay? All right, in the event service provider contract is not executed by June 30th, 2024, an interim plan to provide continued service is required. So that's our responsibility. So since we have not really, we have some concerns with the proposed contract and just wanting to get back to hitting a good reset button on the original one, make sure. That's why I believe the Planning and Oversight Committee made this recommendation to us. And I would concur to their recommendation, okay? So I know we can get into a lot of discussion tonight as far as the proposed contract, and a lot of it, many of us sat through that Thursday night, and it would be a repeat of the same, okay? But I really don't want to go down that road. I'm just being blunt about it, okay? I really don't want to go down that road. I was county board chairman for 8 years, okay? Well, 6 years, county board chairman. And my thing was, let the committees do their job. Bring your findings to the board and let the board make the decision. The work is done in committee. The work isn't done around our board table. The work is really done in committees. And so that's why I believe that's where we need to turn this to, a committee. Now, it's been suggested that possibly the executive committee be the ones to look at this, because we're going to have some representation from the CEOs, and we're going to have representation from the board in that executive committee. Okay, but because this just all happened Thursday, that's not been finalized. I can just tell you that right now. It's not been finalized. Yes, Gordon.
The recommendation to go to the executive committee, was that made by the Oversight and Planning Committee?
Correct.
Who made that recommendation?
They made, yeah, they voted to make that
We
recommendation.
voted to make that recommendation.
Yes,
To go to the executive.
yes,
Go to the
yeah,
executive committee, because they have the CEOs on that executive committee, and the
Yeah.
CEOs are ultimately responsible for.
It seems appropriate. I just didn't know who made that
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah.
And then, did you want these passed out? Like, this is Kevin's letter. It looks like you have copies of the red line.
yeah, the red line, and if you want these, there's a copy of the contract here, okay? And many of you probably have an email to you. And it has everything in red is the proposed changes, okay? And then here is a letter from Seth's on going through those proposed changes and explaining how it's going to affect them, okay? Bottom line, explain how it will affect them, whether in a negative or positive way. It's just going through that, okay? So it's just awesome reading, all of it. Yes.
I have a
Well,
question. I mean, the president came, and I'd like to hear what his comments are on why they made all the changes on the.
well, I know that that's okay, but with you being on a CEO, I mean, right now, I think unless someone on the board wants to hear that, that'd be something you could ask for your CEO meeting, okay?
Are you staying around?
I am.
Okay.
Okay, is that okay, is that okay with everybody? All right,
Is
okay,
the interim plan been developed? It's in place. It's something to ensure that no services are gonna be disrupted while if we vote to.
yes, the interim plan is to, as a planning and oversight, do an extension of 90 days to the existing contract, which will begin July 1st.
Right.
Okay, it'll begin July 1st. That's when, and then that gives us enough time because our next meeting will be in September. Okay, that gives time to get that completed and us to be able to vote on this in September. And if it ends up being the executive committee that does this, and I'll do whatever I can. My thing, when I was county board chair, my thing was get my board members informed as soon as I get them informed, so then they can have time to ask questions.
That
Yes.
is the recommendation,
Yes,
okay, is to take it to the executive committee. That came out of the oversight.
yes,
That is the recommendation.
yes, sir.
So that's it,
Just make it happen.
right?
Okay, so we'll move forward that way, okay? We'll move forward. So, yeah, we need a motion.
Can I ask one?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Mr. Ellis is online.
Yes.
If he had any other comments towards this, I mean, he's heard the discussion. It's who you guys have worked with for this, just.
Yes, and yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've never met Mr. Ellis, but would you have a comment, sir?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be able to attend this meeting and listen to the discussion that's happening around this issue. Yeah, I mean, just the comment that I would make here is this is a concern of DCOs that just as is outlined by the chairperson, that this contract seems to be stalled in the fact that it hasn't been executed yet. So there's heightened concern for DCO that if this doesn't get executed, area job seekers and employers, they could experience some disruptions in service delivery. But it sounds like for now there's an interim plan that is being discussed here, and so I would be interested on the outcome of that. But the overall purpose is really we want to maintain services for those job seekers and employers. So continuity of service is our #1 priority here, regardless of what happens. So that's what we're interested in right now.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Appreciate your comments. And I think that all of us in the room could echo the same concerns. That's our end goal as well.
Correct.
It's about us. Yeah, it's about our customers. Taking care of them, and with this extension that we're doing, that will, and with the great job Seth is doing, there will not be a glitch. I don't see there being a glitch. One. So, do I have a motion to approve this extension for the 90 days?
Is this extension for 90 days and move that responsibility from the oversight and planning to the executive board?
We can make that in one motion. We can make that in one motion for you, yes, instead of making it two. So we're going to do the 90-day extension and give the executive committee the authority to work this contract.
and bring it to the
Full
board
board.
again.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And our goal will be to keep you informed along the way. And as we keep you informed, please don't hesitate, email questions. And once you have a chance to read this and read Kevin's comments, if you have questions, you know who's on the executive board. Don't hesitate, start prodding them, poke them in the eye, okay? And I know that's me, that's fine, we've got to make it happen, okay? We just gotta make it happen. We'll be fine, okay? So we've got a motion, do we have a second? Okay, Carol makes a second. So I'd like to do a roll call vote on this.
We did a roll.
You did a roll call
We
on
did a
yours
roll
because it
call.
was a financial, it's just the only financial.
We had to do a roll.
So if you would, please.
Gerald Gold,
Yes.
Jim Boland, Kevin Beaker, Kate Burstholder,
Yes.
Kevin Busher,
Abstain.
Brian Cannon,
Yes.
Mike Harmon,
Yes.
Sandy Gators,
Yes.
Aaron Hacker, Kathy Iger,
Yes.
Carolyn Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mandy Martin,
Yes.
Josh McElroy, Joy Pitts,
Yes.
Lloyd Foreman, Deborah Reed,
Yes.
Roy Shelley, Denise Smith,
Yes.
Chris Gold, yes, Kim Taylor,
Yeah.
Carol Casey, yes, Jason Morsel,
Yes.
Courtney Hawkins,
Yes.
Austin Thorne.
All right, thank you all very much. And as I said, we will promise to keep you informed and we will not wait until September 1st to get this started. We'll get it started immediately. Okay? All right. So with that, thank you all very much. So we move on to item 11, the fiscal year budget approval. And okay, Debbie. Oh, yes.
Can I ask a question about the budget?
We haven't even got it on the table yet.
Well, I know you should have some questions before you make a motion.
Oh, no, usually you have a motion and second for you to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I sent out the budget for this upcoming year, starting on July 1st. It was taken to the planning and oversight. And they approved it to then go to executive, which then approved it down here. From what I sent out, basically the WIA staff, it is decreasing by 7%. The bulk of that, Lakeland did approve a 4% increase in salaries as of July 1st, but the bulk of the decrease is due to the change in with Tony's position from his salary to the new person's salary. So that's where the bulk of these changes come into play and why there's a 7% decrease. And then on the second page is the apprenticeship budget. This is very early stages. This is basically what we submitted to the state. It is not set in stone because like last year, we submit and then they tell us you're getting this now. So then we make changes based off of that. The one thing I did want to point out, it looks like a big increase, but last year we did have 2 different apprenticeship grants throughout the course of this fiscal year. So with those 2, it's not as big of an increase, but like I said, it's early stages. We don't know what the state's going to approve. They basically have to review every area's plan and then they dole out the money from there. So is there any questions on any line items between the 2 different budget pages? Okay.
All right. So with this presentation of the budget for fiscal year 24, do I have a motion to approve? As presented?
I'll make a motion.
Jason makes the motion. Thanks, sir. Will there be a second to approve? Yes, Sandy makes a motion, or the second. So at that point in time, now, are there any questions? Mr. Beard, I will allow you to ask, even though you're not a board member.
Well, there is public comment. So.
But yeah, that's at the end.
A little late. I think public comment should be at the beginning.
I disagree. I disagree. Yeah, you should be able to.
Poke me in the eye. So
That's fine. Okay, go ahead.
Committee.
Yes, sir.
And do you know the wordage of the contract between the budget and how those funds are transferred? And if something, let's say Lakeland decided to get out midterm or the CEOs chose to do something different?
I do not know the language between the CEOs and what they approved for the fiscal agent. I do not know that language. To know what would happen if the CEOs decided to make another fiscal agent change. I do not know that language. But that would
Or if
be,
Lakeland chose to get out. I mean,
yeah, I do not know what language was approved by the CEOs. I can't answer that, but yes, sir.
It's 60 days written notice.
60 days written notice? See,
Either
yes,
party.
okay. By either party?
By either party.
Okay. Okay.
So then what happens to the funds? I mean, would it be prorated basis on the months that was served, or how would that work?
Generally, that's how it would work, is would be the service months that contract is provided.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. All right. With that, if there's no other questions, I will ask Jamie to call roll. Or Debbie, call roll, please. Debbie, I'm sorry.
Okay, Joe Billiard,
Yes.
Jim Boland, Kevin Binker, Casey Burkholder,
Yes.
Kevin Busher,
Abstain.
Brian Cannon,
Yes.
Mike Conrad,
Yes.
Sandy Daters. Yes. Aaron Hacker, Kathy Eikert,
Yes.
Carolyn Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mandy Martin,
Yes.
Ralph McElroy, Lloyd Pitt. Yes. Lori Foreman, Deb Reed. Yes. Lori Shelley, Denise Smith,
Yes.
Chris Stoll. Yes. Kim Taylor,
Yes.
Carol Casey. Yes. Jason Warfel,
Yes.
Courtney Yockey,
Yes.
Austin Cohen.
All right. Thank you all very much. Okay, moving on. Item 12, election of next year's officers. We appreciate all the hard work that Kim, Casey, and Chris put into this. So which one is going to be your spokesperson?
Kim?
I have no.
I put on the agenda, I thought, I thought we already did this, so.
We would like, the nominating committee would like to recommend to the board that Gerald and Jason resume their same positions for the next year coming up.
I tried to ask, well, I did ask Jason if he wanted to swap places. He denied. And the fact that I have already committed to you that I'll keep you posted and informed means I can't back out now. So if I'd be honored to do it for another year, if you'll have me. But otherwise, if you choose someone else, I'll still be here next meeting. Okay? No problem. But I'd be honored to.
And Jason, you're still on to continue your current capacity.
All good? So, thank you for all your hard work in this. So we need a motion to approve myself as chairman and Jason vice chair for the next year on board. Carol makes a motion and Kevin seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Turn up the volume. All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you very much. I'll try not to disrespect the office or bring shame upon us. I'll do my best, okay? All right. So as you can see, there next is the meeting schedule. Okay. That's the next thing on the budget or on the item of our agenda. The only thing that was commented on was sometimes in December, we do move it up a week sometimes. We've had it, I think Debbie said, or someone said at the planning commission, and meeting at like the 17th or something like that was the last time we had it. So this is the 16th, December 16th, which is a week and a half before Christmas. People were pretty well good with that at that point in time. So if there's no changes that anyone might see here, I'd like to have a motion to approve next year's calendar as presented, please.
I can make a motion.
Okay, Kim makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mike Conrad makes a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you very much. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, is there any other business or any opportunity that anyone wants to share?
I'm Sandy Gaines with URBA. It's National Home Ownership Month, so we are working with Bank and Robinson to offer kind of home buyer information. And it's gonna be virtual, so it's a good opportunity for anybody to just, listen and learn about the home buying experience, maybe some different programs. There's some down payment assistance programs available. USDA's got some good programs with no down payment. I mean, there's still some closing costs involved in that, but good opportunities for areas that are, wanting to get the homes, limited home stock there is sold.
Yeah. So how will someone access that?
We will have it on our Facebook page tomorrow.
Okay.
The Emerald River Basin Agency,
Okay.
URBA's Facebook page, or they can contact me. and
Okay.
Send them some information.
Okay, good.
Do you know the date for the webinar?
It's June 25th, I believe, it's a Tuesday,
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
at 6 p.m. So people that are working can attend, it'll be about an hour long, so.
That's great.
And then we're offering budget and credit free, budget and credit counseling, as a follow-up if they attend that, so we can, help them. If they've got some barriers, with their credit, we can help them work through that.
Good, good. Thanks, Shane. Thank you. Yeah, Kevin.
Yes, I just wanted to inform the board of workforce grant that CFS, URBA, LWIA 23, LWIA 21, as partner to apply for with the state of Illinois. CFS and URBA, Illinois Valley, PADS, and HOPE are all partners in continuum care. Continuum care of 18 county region that has to apply all together for HUD funding for homelessness. Okay. So this Home Illinois grant was a twist between serving the homeless with workforce funding. And through the state, LWIA could apply, or the lead agency for continuum care, URBA could apply. I'm the president of the COC board, and Jamie's on the board. And it was decided from the board that the COC what URBA was doing. So we wrote the grant. And it's a mix between helping people that are in the shelters or a rapid housing program, giving them jobs, getting them trained, their work experience on the job training, classroom training, short-term training, helping them with rent and utilities, transportation. So we wrote this grant, it's $1.2 million. It's going to serve some counties outside of, LWIA 23. That's why LWIA 21 was invited. It covers most part of the 18 counties that are in the COC. So if that grant, we find out at the end of the month, we're getting a July. It's a 2-year grant. I just want to let you know that was sent to a DCO on behalf of, like I said, 21, 23, and the RCOC. So hopefully we'll get that. Be a great opportunity to help a lot more people, a lot of individualized, a lot of case management one-on-one. We're going to try going to the house at work. Never done it before, but we're going to sure try. So that's kind of what we're trying. Again, it's another $1 million being brought into our counties. most fall.
Is there a time frame of when you might know they're gonna award the grant? No,
We were told by the end of June, beginning of July, but I've been through this before.
Yeah.
I'm counting on October.
Yeah,
So just give us.
I understand. I understand. Okay. But still, if it comes to fruition, that'd be great. Hope it does. Hope it does. And thank you for that input. Any other comments? Anybody want to make? Yes,
I've got a webinar coming up in July, end of July, last Thursday, July 25th, State of the Region. We did this last year, about mid-year, and it was really popular. We're doing it again. I've got a local banker who's gonna look at the region from an economic standpoint, South Central, Southeastern Illinois, primarily utilizing Federal Reserve economic data. I've got a realtor that's gonna do a housing market update. We'll look at the end of 23, the first half of 24, and then if Kayla's still on here, looks like she jumped off with DCO to do an update on activity with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity throughout the region as well. So go to ilbusinessnavigators.com. It's navigators with an S. You can register for it last Thursday of the month. It'll be at 10:30.
Great, great. All good stuff. All good stuff. All right. Anybody else got good stuff?
Courtney, did you say June or July?
That's July. It was originally scheduled for June here, but unfortunately, I just had some things pop up on one of our panelists is can't make it. And so our biggest goal is to get the information out, and it gives them another month of data to try to digest.
Yep.
So
Good. July 25th. All right. Any public comments?
Hi.
There you go, Todd. There you go.
Hey, this is Brian Ellis again. Just a quick comment for me is I just wanted to say I appreciate Jamie's quick training on the board roles and responsibilities. I thought that was useful and very good. But I do want to say that DCO, this is a heads up that DCO is planning to come on site to LWIA 23 in July to conduct some required technical assistance sessions on board and CEO roles and responsibilities. And we're in the process of working on those dates now for that training. We'll be working with Jamie's office to get that set up. So more to come on that. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And I appreciate you joining us today.
Sure.
Very much. All right. Dr. Book, I have you. You're welcome anytime. Okay.
I'm glad to be back. I've never served on this board for many years.
Yeah. Yes, because Debbie cooks a mean chicken. All right. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn? If no one wants to go home, we can say it. Okay, Mike and Carol. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you for your patience. I know it's a little bit longer meeting than normal, but we had stuff to do. All right, thank you.
CEOs, if you're on line, they stay here.
Yes, CEOs online, just hang tight for a moment. We'll take a very quick break and we'll be right here on this. Don't go anywhere. He usually makes some extra ones. I think we mentioned.
I mean, just unfortunate not able to get back to the call again. So.
Would it be this one right here, the video? Anyone else need video? Thank you. Yeah, it's my complaint.
Well, I'm just gonna stay around. I need more information. So I'll make a comment. Yeah. Yes, forward transmission at Lawrenceville.
Give them some information, please.
I think it is the one of the ones.
Want me to follow up with them like tomorrow?
Yeah. I'll see you at another meeting at 8 or 9 o'clock. Simple.
I'll give him a call. Tomorrow morning, how about that?
That's pretty, he hires a lot of people and trains people that, don't know what to do.
Actually, I took. Great.
Excuse me. Yeah. And I'll see. Yes. That's fun to see all the rest.
Okay? You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, you want to do this? Thank you.
I have a small.
I get it. I like these. Yeah. CEO. Anybody else? A copy of the CEO agreement with the local board and the, fiscal agent. Gerald, do you have a copy?
You're not with me. Thank you.
Now, that's a consortium, but that's not.
Understood.
And here is the, another.
Can I sit down now?
You may. Kevin and, Todd and I just like.
You just like taking my exercise.
All right. We'll start out then with the, whoops, it's Debbie. Yep, if Debbie, just another moment. Brandon's in the restroom, yes. Okay, or Brandon, we're here or something. So we're still recording. Keep it that in mind. Be mindful what comes across your cameras or your microphone. Feel free to unmute yourself to contribute to the conversation. This is still, it's been a long day, but it's still Monday, June 17th, 2024. It is LWIA 23 Consortium of Chief Elected Officials meeting. It is 7:28 right now. So Chair Purdy, whenever you are ready, call your meeting to order. And I just want to let you know online, what I have handed out are copies of the CEO agreement with the fiscal agent and the CEO agreement with the board, the LWIA, and CEO agreement with the consortium. What's online, Debbie, too?
I sent them out.
Okay, those most likely are in the emails. So I think we need to start with a welcome, everyone, and a roll call, please. Okay. Tom Pierce.
Here.
Jen Boland. Jim Brewer. Bill Burke.
Here.
Joshua Dobbin.
Here.
Dennis Graves. Jacob Harris. Nancy Purdy. Here. Joshua Rowe.
Here.
Debbie Smith. Here. Jeff Boyd.
Here.
Jason Morgan.
Here.
Terry Woodruff. You have a quorum. Thank you. Number 2 is the review and approval of the March 18th and May 6th minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
All right, thank you. All those, sorry, stay all those opposed. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. And number 3, conflict of interest disclosure. One of the CEOs. Hearing none, move on to number 4, board training. Oh, never mind, I'm sorry, I'm on. I don't have a copy of it, I've got it on my face. Sorry, I don't have a copy.
Here, I got it for you.
That makes it a little easier to read. Anyone else wants a copy of this? Number 4, the signatory authority update. Yes, all right. So on behalf of the CEOs, the signatory authority has been exercised for the apprenticeship expansion grant for the modification where we moved 10K, about 10,000 from personnel to employer incentives and de-obligated $6,000. Match shoot of Lakeland College signed on behalf of the CEOs on the budget certification on March 12th and the grant agreement, excuse me, April 2nd. Then the CEFS contract budget revision number 11, where we moved $16,431 from dislocated worker back over to adult. Match shoot signed on April 3rd. The 1E emergency dislocated worker grant, the amount of $673,000. Match signed the budget certification on April 3rd and the notice of award on April 3rd as well. The PY plan year 23 formula grant modification number 2, where we moved $41,361 from 1A to 1D. Match signed that budget modification certification on May 2nd and the notice of award on May 13th. And then finally, the plan year 22 formula grant modification number 3, where there were some variances of just over 10% from the original budget. Match shoot signed that budget certification on May 23rd and the grant agreement on June 5th. Any questions? Matt Shute is the comptroller for Lakeland College. She's signatory authority since since Greg Nuxel left the college as the vice president of business services. Any other questions? Thank you, Jamie. Number 5, the proposed service provider contract. As you've heard earlier, the recommendation from the board, the board voted to extend the current contract for 90 days, which will extend from July the 1st to September the 30th. And the executive committee will meet with Kevin and Jamie to go over the proposed contract and see if we can't get one possibly hopefully by next board meeting. Or if it were possible before the end of June.
but we've given ourselves the 90 days if possible. And that does meet a requirement that Ryan Ellis indicated in his letter that we needed to have a plan to get rid of this. To have the contract. So do I have a motion to approve what the board voted on? Debbie, thank you. Second?
Okay.
All right, Todd. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, yeah.
Did you want to do roll call?
Oh, I guess
Because of finance?
oh, well, since we did with the board, and the executive committee, I think we should. All right, Todd Beard,
Yeah.
Jim Boland, Jim Brewer,
Yes.
Bill Burke,
Yes.
Josh Allen,
Yes.
Dennis Graves, Jacob Harris, Nancy Purdy. Yes. Josh Rowe,
Yes.
Debbie Smith. Yes. Seth Boyd,
Yes.
Jason Warfel,
Yes.
Terry Woodruff. Number 6, discussion of fiscal year.
We'll pass on to that, because I would like to have some confirmation on what the president thinks about some of these changes.
Okay.
Is that right?
Oh, yes, for number 5,
Yes. Fine.
service provider
I
contract.
just got a lot ready here. Just got one. That's on the plan.
I can give you an overview.
How about those?
So I'm not sure if any of the CEOs can answer for me. When was the last time the contract was updated outside of changing the dates? It's been a long time, a very long time. We believe that.
Probably 5 years ago, whenever IECC. Because we actually, the state paid a gentleman to come down and write it for it.
That was before IECC got it, though.
Right,
That was
that was the exchange.
Yeah.
We're operating on 1-year extension like that. Okay, we didn't go for the full 3 years the last time, the 3 years and stuff. We went for 1 year, right?
Around the 4th year.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
the 1-year extension.
So it's at least 4 years,
At least 4 years.
not more, but this.
In my time, in my over a decade, I don't recall that we've had the program back that it has had a contract review in that time. So we believe in making sure that whatever we do remains relevant and is appropriate to where the laws are today. And so we had our legal counsel review the contract, because ultimately, if you had a chance to review the contract with Lakeland College, you as a CEO group delegate a tremendous amount of authority to us as a fiscal agent, including delegating the power and responsibility to enter into contracts, subcontracts, agreements, making sure those contracts have very specific guidance in them. So we thought it was wise for us to make sure that the contract, as the fiscal agent, I just want to share, we take a role as fiscal agent very seriously. For us, our goal is to make sure that we have your back as CEOs and the back of the local workforce investment board. Period. That is our obligation to you contractually based on this, is to make sure that the letter of the law is being followed and the funds that are given to the local workforce investment board are being spent to the letter of the law. And that includes following all biddings, federal bidding procedures and so forth. That is our role. That is strictly our role. So we take that very seriously. One of the other things with that role and that we take very seriously as fiscal agent is the idea that we are that intermediary between the CEO and the local workforce and innovation board and any contractual providers. And that's very intentional. That's to provide any inappropriate communication or influence from those who might have a conflict of interest from doing a workaround and working outside of the process. That is part of that goal of us being there to protect you. And let me give you an example of how, how we look at this process. So Lakeland College is not doing this for money. I can assure you that. Does anyone know how much Lakeland College is paid to administer its fiscal agent contracts for the local workforce investment board outside of those who want to say?
Well, we've got the administration fees, for what I call.
$44,000 this year is about where we'll be if May and June equal where we were at the end of April. $44,000. And I can guarantee you that we're not doing this for the money. The goal for us is to have your back. And so as a fiscal agent, when we make or recommend changes to the contract, we're making changes that we think align with the agreement that we have with you. And if you look at some of the number 8 under the contract, under general CEO expectations, the CEOs expect Lakeland College to implement written grant agreements or contracts only as needed when clear goals and obligations are established. We need to make sure that every goal is clearly defined in that contract, including financial goals, because that's our role as a fiscal agent. And where I take it very seriously is when I look at the back of the contract. The CEOs will hold Lakeland College accountable for all expenditures and costs that violate WIA requirements. Again, we're not doing this for the money. This is for us to make sure that we have your back so that you can provide service to those residents in need within our communities. Period. And so when we're making the recommendations for the contract, or we're providing recommendations for you as CEOs or the local workforce innovation board, it's to protect you. It's to make sure that the things in the contract are extremely clearly delineated. Because the contract is about setting expectations and making sure that you have a document that clearly outlines those expectations for us to monitor and use. We do the exact same thing at the college. When we have contracts, the language in those contracts is exceptionally clear, because that's how you ensure that you're holding those parties that you contract with to the right level of obligation, right? So that, if you're asking why the changes were made, it's to protect you. We have your back. This is what it's about. And I would hope it's an honor for us to serve. It really is for us to serve as a partner with you as CEOs and local workforce innovation board. We will do whatever is in our ability, and I promise you that, to protect you, to make sure that the grant dollars are being expended in the right way, and to make sure that the metrics or the performance metrics are being met in the right way. We will guarantee that we will help you do that. You know, I sincerely hope that there's that mutual respect between Lakeland College and you as CEOs and the local workforce innovation board that allows us to carry out our contractual obligations, which are in here to protect you. If you don't feel it's the right thing to do, that's okay. But know that as long as Lakeland College is a fiscal agent, we will protect you to make sure that will something never happen? We can never say that. But we will watch everything extremely carefully to make sure that it doesn't. So again, you asked, our goal is to protect you. That's the whole reason we want to make sure we look at the contracts on a regular basis and that they still meet the letter of the law and what's best practice for contract language. The more ambiguity you have in a contract, the more opportunity there is for error, the more opportunity there is for disagreements. When contracts are clearly spelled out and delineated, you know what the expectations are, and we can help you manage those expectations of those who are providing service. Hopefully that helps share where we are as an institution in our partnership with you.
Any other questions?
No, since you didn't want to do all the whole thing.
I'll see. Right. Small as teeth.
Hey, but I'm wired. But I did have one other thing is, you know, a lot of the LWIA was taken out and only Lakeland College was in control. And I was concerned about that.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Sure, and we can adjust that, but we want to make sure that it aligns with what you delegated to Lakeland College. Because as you read this, there's a lot where it says the CEOs delegate to Lakeland College.
And I think that maybe needs to be changed to where we have a little more input.
And clarity.
And clarity. And that's perfect. That's why we want to have clarity in contracts. The clearer this contract is between Lakeland College and the CEOs, the better it is for us as well. Because we know what your expectation is of us, and we can live up to that expectation, so.
For instance, we're agreeing to have you have the ability to enter into contracts. Does that mean to write contracts? Not being a lawyer, to enter into, yes, make a contract or accept a contract with someone else. Is that the same thing as Lakeland College writing the contract? on our behalf. I don't know,
Well, it does say in here that we get given the agreement.
to enter into.
Yeah.
But I mean, the bulletins that we had at the very beginning of the other meeting, I mean, it quite clearly says the WIA board, the WIA board, the WIA board. So it's kind of in control. And when you look at this, it's not the WIA board, it's the college. So
And then
the state says in their bulletins that this is supposed to be the way it lays out. In the tree, it had the, you know, the CEOs above. But again, we're getting left out. So it's like Lakeland is right where the local government.
Well, remember, that's just the contract with the first party provider, so that's with the Title I provider. What you're looking at is that contract. Again, you've delegated the authority to the fiscal agent to enter into that contract with the Title I provider. So that's why it says, because that contract is really a Lakeland College contract with that provider, so. I mean, if you want to adjust what the delegations are in the fiscal agent contract, then we could look at that. We just want to make sure that what, yes, what your expectations are of us. And again, we have your back. Whatever you want us to do, we have your back.
You're the agent representing the CEO, so you're in contract.
Correct.
Like, that's what, I mean, it's not, they're not acting on their own, they are
Correct.
acting on us telling them, if it's Evan's group, they are entering into a contract with them at our direction. They're not doing it on their, they can't enter into a contract with a company from Sacramento just because they want it. It has to be at the direction of the CEO.
Exactly.
I'm not too sure that's the way it is. You know, the wording of the contract has to pass through the CEO's agreement as well.
And then it says Lakeland final approval.
Those are things that should. Yeah, and the exec board might want to include Lakeland in their discussion.
I don't know if you have the time to come to the executive.
Well, maybe not, but doesn't
Committee.
separate your behalf.
And again, our goal is to help you. So whatever's going to help you as CEOs ensure that all the funds are being used appropriately, metrics are being, performance metrics are met. That's what our obligation is. Again, I'll say we are not doing this for the money in any way, shape, or form. We want our communities to prosper.
Neither are we.
I know. Right. So I think we have a common interest to help our communities grow and prosper. That's what our goal would be.
Thank you, anyone.
That's all I have
Have
for
any
now.
other comments? Okay. Therefore, because action has been taken, the only action then that we have would be to, well, it's just discussion on fiscal agent here. So there's no action actually to be taken here, so if there's, so we vote on no action.
So, I mean, was there any discussion on the business? I mean,
We're on number 5, aren't we, on the service
Yes,
provider contract?
yes.
So I think what we're to do here then is simply make a motion. Someone make a motion to do what the board has suggested from the executive committee, from the oversight committee, to extend the current contract for 90 days. You know, like that, that doesn't roll call. Okay. Yeah.
No, but it's all inclusive. Okay?
We're gonna walk more. Remember that.
You're fine. We're fine.
All right, so we are on number 5, number, what are we? 6. Thank you. Number 6. Did we even start? No. Okay. So discussion on fiscal agent. And that is something that we wanted to, it's in here to, we are to review the fiscal agent periodically, and I thought it said,
I thought it said annually, but I couldn't find it when I went back. I think that was the third one that says annually. So that's why I wanted to bring up fiscal agent, and also talk about the fiscal agent. Correct me if I'm wrong. You started it with us in 2019, according to the signatures and dates on the contract. So that makes about 5 years that you have been with us. And fiscal agent can be, as you mentioned earlier, either you opt to not be fiscal agent again, as IBCC had done. They said, okay, we've been on it so many years, we're ready to be off. So you have that option, as well as if we think that someone else should be the fiscal agent, we have that option as well with a 60-day written notice to the other party, either one of us. So,
Just to correct something, I think that Lakeland took over from ICC in 2014. I think this was actually signed because Douglas County left. I think that was what prompted the 2019.
It was
But-
Man, time flies. So 14,
and
and then
So 14.
Terry Bruce.
Yeah.
Had
Because I came back in
Yeah.
2019.
we had.
And we can assign a number.
Yeah, we had it.
I was telling you that.
Yes, because I had to.
That's right.
My first was limited.
I don't think that, does anyone have any proposals to make? If not, there
What's
would
we
be
talking about?
no action to take on number 6 at this time. I think it's already been kind of handled because we've moved the contract and given more time for the contract. What I wanted to do, no action on this, would move on to number 7. Look at, what I'd like you to do is look at the contract. As Dr. Bullock, suggested that we need to do to go through it and see what I found when I went through the contract, the CEO contract with fiscal agent, with the board, local board, and with consortium. They don't totally seem some places to match up with each other exactly. See what you think. Please read it, see what you think as you go through it. I've highlighted several things that I either think conflict or are questionable, or that I think the wording might be wrong, or that I can just actually be changed. So I would like to, we don't have the time tonight with people not having read it perhaps. And obviously, we're not going to enter into anything with people not having read it well and understood it. So I think on this one, that we would probably put the action, we would just table the action on this. Do I have a motion to table this to the September meeting? Do I have a second?
Yes.
Any discussion?
That's why you can't have public comment. Second motion. So you don't. Once the second motion's done, you're done.
Okay.
Robert Rule. All right.
Robert's rules of order.
Exactly. That's why I try to get my voice in before.
Let's go.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Number 8, discussion on the CEO LWIA agreement, same thing as number 7. Please take time to read through it. I did not include the consortium on this one because I was more concerned at this time about the fiscal agent and the board agreement. See what you think. We've already asked you to look through the contract And that at this point is the most important thing, I think, but this might help you with trying to figure out why something might have been put in the contract or changed in the contract, or maybe it's something we think shouldn't be in the contract because of these. Please look them over, and then give your comments to the executive committee if you have any, or any questions, so that they can be brought up in the meetings on the contract. So I don't think there's anything again here to discuss, to do, other than maybe table this to September as well.
Move to table. Second.
Thanks. You just said it. Okay, thank you. Number 9. I just said that. Vote, no, we don't. Okay. Vote, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Question.
Back on 6. Do we want to send a message to the school, the university about the fiscal agent, or just, just we have to table that, we just got it out there. What are we doing with that? We don't understand. Are we tabling that? Do we want to change agents? Do we want to keep them as our agent?
Well, I think that if we get some of these things changed, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right. But I'm just trying to see where we're at.
So if they're not willing to change, then there's other options.
It says action required. That's the only reason why.
I put action required in case somebody wanted to bring up something that we did want to take action on. I figured that the action that might be taken is no action or table. Until you've had a chance to read through these.
Because we've done that.
So should I go back to that and?
No, let's leave that on there for a second. Well, but I do have some questions on the budgetary issue.
Going down to number 9 for the budget approval, the board voted to approve the budget, and do I have a motion?
Before you.
Well, that's where it comes after we vote in second.
Motion to approve the budget, and second, then you discuss it further.
Before we actually vote.
It would be motion second, discussion, but if you were to vote, there's no discussion.
Correct.
Oh,
okay. So I was wrong. I'm sorry.
In this.
After the discussion, I realized.
Jeff has moved to approve the budget, right? Thank you. Debbie has seconded it.
Okay. Based on the budget, I see that, you guys have changed it to the $366,800. I have reached out on my own to have a budget presented from some other entity just to see where they might be, which ended up being SEFs, and had them present me a budget. And their budget to perform the same services came out to $321,000. So, that's a $45,000 savings that if the board chose to choose a different fiscal agent based on dollars, then you'd have another $45,000 to put into training. I know you're not, like you said yourself, you're not doing it for money. And you said you wanted to provide all the services or help people in the community. So if that's true, then you eventually would think the same way I am, is if you can save money, it's our responsibility to be fiscally responsible with these dollars. And that would be choosing different fiscal agent based on dollars. So if you guys would present something different, which I know it's already been approved by the by the web board, but we're looking at $45,000 difference. And I know your overhead's a lot higher. There's
So those are our actual costs for people. So the overhead that would go to Lakeland College again is $44,000. So that's actually cost for people, and those costs are gonna vary if it's SEPS that's made a proposal like the Title I provider to also become fiscal agent. Their cost may be lower because they might have brand new people in those roles and they're looking at starting wage, but every year you have somebody enroll, their wages go up, right? Because that's kind of how wages work, so that, what you're seeing there are just the costs for people. So that, if there's someone who can do that and have the cost, that's fine. Again, as Lakeland College, as long as you want us to serve and be that intermediary, I think there's a tremendous value so that you have an intermediary between a title provider and the CEOs. No way, but it's really the CEO's decision. It's not Lakeland College's decision to service this community that resides with you. All I can tell you is the costs that are outlined there are people costs. There's no extra money for Lakeland College in those costs. So we couldn't say, let's decrease that by $45,000 because that would be $45,000 if the college would. That our board is entrusted with, again, taxpayer money that they're entrusted with to make sure that we're funding education through that. So I personally don't want to influence you as CEOs either way. It's a decision you'll have to make. Whether you want an intermediary in there who's going to be the organization that will hold our contractual providers accountable, or whether you don't. And so that I think is not our decision. It's really something we have to decide. We're not going to have any hard feelings either way. We will support the CEOs. Will continue to support the LWIA because our goal, as I mentioned, is to see the continued growth of our community. We'll support you.
And one other question is, sitting in some of the meetings here lately, I've heard Kevin comment about having probably laying off some of his soldiers on the ground performing services due to Lakeland providing some of their services. And then they can't meet their, 50% or their 50% goal because they're not getting the full amount allocated to them.
I'm not familiar with that.
Debbie did a pretty good job of explaining that the other night with the 50% incumbent worker versus the cost that we have to overhead for Lakeland College. So
We did talk about the wash, and I didn't really quite understand.
I don't know. I can see if I've got the numbers in front of me, maybe. So one of the reports that I do on a monthly basis is a training versus overhead. And the state requires that for adult and dislocated workers, that 50% of those funds, training costs are supposed to be more than 50%. If you drop below 50%, that's going to have a problem. So I track the training costs, SEP's overhead, I track our overhead, and then they come and work their training, which whenever you look at it, yes, Kevin had mentioned, I think it was like 37,000, just an initial budget for adult Lakeland College overhead for this upcoming one. But whenever I look at the previous year's training versus overhead, so like this year, right now, the Lakeland overhead is $42,294. But the incumbent worker is at $78,000. So that has offset any of the Lakeland College overhead staff there. And so traditionally, I think I went back and looked, like last year, 40,000 in Lakeland overhead, incumbent worker was 111. Lakeland overhead the year before that, 26,000, incumbent worker 69,000. So traditionally, for several years, any Lakeland overhead, the adult and dislocated worker costs were offset by any incumbent worker training. So, and anything extra in the incumbent worker training actually helped the training percentage. So that's sort of part of my tracking, just to make sure us as an entire collective, we hit the 50% mark. So.
Someone else did say that SEPS has no control over the incumbent worker training and no control over the LWIA staff overhead costs. That is correct. However, in practice, it is not negatively impacting them to a degree that would make it hard for them to hit the 50% minimum. In fact, when we have over budgeted or intended to have a larger budget for incumbent worker training and realized that CEFS needed to have more funds to be able to serve more adults, we were able to quite quickly as a team internally say, okay, how much and how fast can we make this decision and be able to get those funds over to SEPs to reallocate to be able to serve individuals. So there's a precedence of us working as a team with SEPs to ensure that they're in a good spot for that direct training, 50% minimum.
I mean, covering 13 counties is a huge territory to cover.
And when I brought that up, it was based on the contract of saying we had to do everything. 50% rule didn't specify that the money allocated to us. As we make it, I wanted to make it clear that CFS has no control over money that Lakeland spends on covered worker and other staff. And like Todd said, we'll be laying 2 staff off. If we don't get that on the Illinois grant, we talked about earlier, we will be laying 2 staff off because we will not meet that because of cost of wages. The last 5 years, minimum wages going up, we get raises, significant wages. If you're not, our staff wouldn't even been getting the wage. So that's why we're at the point this year where we're set.
So I don't know what the person has done over, you guys got 13 counties to cover and then pretty good sized area, and then they found a worker. You know, I don't know.
Cover the 13 funds.
I don't, yeah.
But is that something that's guaranteed each year? That is always going to offset. So that they don't end up.
Well, they are going to lay 2 people off with that. And I don't know if there's any way that you can still work funds around like what you talked about in the past.
If they have to lay 2 people off, that I think will affect the people that they're trying to help for us.
If we give additional, we've already given just about all we have for incumbent worker this year. So for next year, if we were to give them more money that would take away from incumbent worker training, they would still have to spend that on direct training. So I don't know how that's going to impact their staff then. Is it just a matter of that the wages are so much that where's the dollar amount that would make a difference for you, I guess is the question.
So we pull numbers, but our staff. We start our case for third player at 1775, so not get rich.
And that's why we have.
It should probably be
these
$23
budget
an
conversations
hour
with SEPs.
to get to hire some quality staff. We should probably be bumping them up by about 50. Right now, it's just. But we know we can't.
Is that figured out in that budget then?
No, I'm not saying that's not. If we would do that, we would have to lay off probably 2 more, so, I mean, what's going on, so. But we're at, that's kind of where we're at, we know we have to cut 2 to meet that 50%. We gotta have a lot of, if we close offices in those underlying counties, there's gonna be less service to those counties. So we know we have to have those offices in those counties to serve those counties. We can't have one in every 13 county. And the staff, I wish we could. Can't, we wouldn't serve anyone. But if we close, say if we just put everybody in the FAM office. We have 6 case managers there. Guess where the people are going to serve those. So that's why we want to keep as many staff in the offices as possible. To spread that money to all the counties.
So the suggested or proposed 125, I believe, for incumbent worker training for plan year 24. I don't know that we've gotten any input from you guys yet on if that was good with you, or did you want to change that amount? Because I feel like we've had a really good relationship of, hey, this is what we would like to do when we get your
Right.
input on it.
Right.
and take into consideration what your needs are.
Right.
Is that not been your experience so far? You feel like we've done pretty well?
Yes, yes, I have. I
Okay.
just, again, point I was making. In the contract, we read by 6 pages. I don't want CFS to be responsible. We have 50% of funding that's not coming to us.
That's valid. That makes sense.
Do you guys have a chart that show, I think I've seen it in the past, a head count of the numbers that have went through the adult, the dislocated workers?
Yes, every month we send that out to all of the board members and CEO and anyone else on our newsletter mailing list.
Yes. I don't feel that.
I can get them to you directly if you would like, or if you'd like them
Just
to you
email them.
as well.
But I don't think I'll get it.
What happens if we don't approve the budget tonight?
That's a good question. We really need to have a budget in place by July 1st, or we can't spend money,
I understand.
and that's really gonna impact services then.
Can you amend the budget? Once it's passed?
So like we do that with SEP's budget, because anytime there's a modification or we get additional funds, we do update their budget with their contract. For our office operating budget, we've never, to my knowledge, since I've been here, we have not amended it.
We do too, and we have no budget that's necessary. Yeah.
Do?
What in the budget do we want to amend?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about the finishing fluid and you don't have information on him, as far as
That's gonna affect the budget that is attached to the fiscal agent.
Oh, it's not.
Service.
Yeah.
That's not our operating
That's
budget.
what happens. So I understood.
I'd just like to see a caseload, like if his, provider has one of his agents has, say, 30 people they're taking care of, and the dislocated worker only has 10, one of those dollar figures kind of.
Well, all of the CEFS career planners are handling adult dislocated worker and youth. We only manage incumbent worker training, and there's not case management with the individual. So like on the incumbent worker training, report I shared earlier, 150 or 140 are impacted, but they're not receiving one-on-one case management like the customers that work with CEFS career planners. They're getting one-on-one case management. What do you need? What can I do to help you? Incumbent worker training is more of we're helping the business to be able to grow or avoid layoffs. And through that work, we're impacting individuals, but not on a case management level. So it's different. So it's our 147 with incumbent worker training compared to the 300 they're working with adult dislocated worker training.
I call it question.
Okay, I would
That
like,
ends discussion.
oh, that ends the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the question. Yes, asking for the vote. On budget.
Can I comment? I'd like to make a comment that you're all coming up with this as a county board's chair. This has to be settled by the end of June. I say we move on and go ahead and agree to this budget. And we can consider this in next year's budget, since you're bringing this all up differently. So you can consider this kind of late in the year to do that. And you can be penalized if you don't have it. It has a lot to do with your finances and everything. So I just think we should move on.
And I'm all for voting for it. I'm just wanting to ask an answer to my question.
But the questions that you're asking really aren't included in the budget that we're intending to pass. Correct? Yes.
To a degree.
I mean, pretty much totally. If we pass the budget, it doesn't affect any of the questions.
Well, and it does, because it's go back to the 45,000 that could be saved could go to training, then it all kind of has a role playing in that same question.
Can I expand on that just a bit? That budget is if we integrate fiscal agent and service provider. So I would feel pretty confident if Lakeland were to do that as well. And integrate fiscal agent and career services, service provider, there would be a savings there as well. That is just kind of common practice across the state because when you virtually integrate services like that, there's going to be a savings. Right now, the way it stands with having an office at Lakeland and a team at CEFS, there is an overlap of some duties. Yes, there's an operations manager or operations coordinator in my office, and then Elaine's the operations coordinator there for CEFS. So there's overlap, and it is not, in all honesty, it is not the most efficient way of having all of the services. So yes, I can see there would be a savings if that is the fiscal agent, but it would be the same or similar for anyone else who works by both fiscal agency and career services. So is that the question that you're really looking at? Not so much as steps could say, but would there be a savings of integrating?
Total savings is what I was looking at. No matter
And
which
just
way it goes.
looking at personnel and salary costs, I agree. But if we look at other factors beyond cost, such as continuity of service, quality of service, just the expansive region that we have, and some other things that haven't even occurred to me yet, I'm sure, there's far more factors beyond just that fiscal savings of $45,000 a year. Which may be worth exploring, but it's gonna take a lot more than one meeting to explore.
Well, yeah, I'm just bringing things up for the question, that's all. So,
Brian, can we amend the budget after it's approved? Are you still with?
He probably didn't know anything about me again.
Brian Ellis,
Brian? Yeah, Ellis. See what it is.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question completely. Can you repeat it?
We have a question on the floor about, if we pass the budget here, can that at a later time within the year be amended?
Can it be amended? Let me take that back to our fiscal people at the department and get an answer for you. I'm not sure.
Regardless of whether it can or can't be, the questions that were asked, we don't have the time to actually change the budget.
Right.
Okay, so I, again, all the questions means it's privileged and we take a vote.
All right, I think we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
No.
Roll call. Okay, Todd Beer,
yes.
Jim Boland, Jim Brewer,
Yes.
Bill Burt. Bill Burt?
Bill, you're muted if you are there and able to hear.
Would you asking for me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Roll call
I
Bill
vote
for
yes.
the vote. That approval?
I vote yes for the budget.
Thank you. Josh Down,
Yes.
Dennis Wade, Jacob Harris, Nancy Purdy,
yes.
Josh Rowe,
Yes.
Debbie Smith,
Yes.
Jeff Boyd,
Yes.
Jason Warfel.
Yes.
Terry Woodard. Okay,
Number 10, board attendance report.
Oh. Okay, yes, I'm ready. Sorry, guys.
Last page.
You know, it should be that easy, but all of my notes, I got it all. There we go. So looking at the board attendance, remember that there is a correlation between the engagement of the board member in the county and the communities that it represents and how many people end up being, how much grant funds go to those counties. So please take a moment to look at specifically your board members from your areas and any that have not been attending regularly in the last 3 meetings, if they had things come up or they're trending to not be actively engaged, that impacts how many services, how many grant funds go to your area. So we really rely on you to appoint the board members that are going to be most actively engaged and to help us keep them accountable as well. For the most part, we are trending better. There are a few board members who are not actively engaged, but those also happen to be affiliated with CEOs who are not actively engaged either. So I'm working on that, but it really, it's got to come from the CEO that has to be aware and cognizant of how important this is, because these are grant funds that ultimately each CEO, each county board is responsible for. And this is such a wonderful benefit to the communities. You want this benefit to go to your communities, and it is first come, first serve. We're not sitting out here saying we're going to save this much for Effingham, we're going to save this much for Clay County. It is first come, first serve. So encourage your board members to attend, be engaged, and to be talking about WIA. Any questions about board attendance? Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Number 11 is next year's meeting schedule, and the next meeting is scheduled for September the 16th. Yeah, let's see, December the 16th, March of next year the 17th, and June the 16th.
Motion to approve that.
Is that a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. All right. Any old business? New business? Public comment? Closing remarks, everybody be safe going on. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. You get the same?
I'll be the second. You have to have a first and second. It's all in favor.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Good
thank
seeing
you
you all.
for-
Thank you.
Yes.
You too.
Thank you.